horror suspense genre in anime is sorely lacking. For every one great show, there's 10 other forgettable, completely disinteresting ones. Part of the problem is that anime, as an unrealistic medium itself, has a harder time pulling off scary, which rides on relatability. But a bigger issue is that most horror anime simply don't handle their storytelling properly. Whether it's because of poor pacing, a lack of suspense, or stupidly easy to solve mysteries, most horror anime fall short. It's really a shame too, because when it's done right, this can be one of my favorite genres, thanks in part to one show in particular. A show many horror series since have tried and failed to emulate. Today, under the scope, I take a look at Higurashi no Naku Koro ni, a horror anime that defines the heights this genre is capable of. In the quiet village of Hinamizawa, mysterious deaths have taken place each of the last 4 years, around the time of the town's cotton festival. Having just recently moved in, Maebara Keiichi remains blissfully unaware of any danger, spending the days carefree playing with his group of friends. However, after the murders continue for the 5th straight year, Keiichi soon learns things aren't all as they seem. As he and his friends dig deeper into the mystery, the wheels of fate begin to turn them towards an awful and horrific future. The story is broken up into distinct arcs, each presenting a completely different scenario, with a new character going all Jack Torrance each time. At the end of each arc, the world resets and goes back to the beginning. Initially, the arcs all seem disjointed, but in reality, each plays a bigger role in the truth behind the Hinamizawa murders, all coming together in the end in a brilliant piece of storytelling. Tension and pacing are massively important components to any horror series, and Higurashi absolutely nails them both. The tension is always high from the first scene to the last, consistently rising over the course of each arc. It seamlessly switches between slice-of-life comedy and psychological thriller at the snap of a finger. No matter how lighthearted the situation may get, it's always one step away from taking a turn for the extremely dark. One minute you have moe girls laughing and playing games, and the next they're at each other's throats brutally murdering each other. You never know when exactly that switch is coming, just that it is coming, keeping you alert at all times. Higurashi is a master of pacing, executing the steady but not plodding pace to near perfection. It takes its time in building a sense of comfort at the start of each arc before smashing it to pieces, making the breakdown in the character's psyche all the more impactful. The intrigue is there from the start, constantly throwing new twists at you. It doesn't spoil the surprise too soon. Rather, it gives you clues and new pieces of information regarding the curse in each arc, leaving it up to you to fit the pieces together. Some of those clues were never actually there, but rather figments of the character's imagination. By telling the story through the point of view of that arc's psycho, it lets you see what they see, before the answers arc comes in and makes you question it all. It forces you to think and interact with the story. The pieces are all there. You just have to determine which are real and how they fit together. Easier said than done. Higurashi isn't necessarily scary, but rather extremely unsettling. It can get very gory at times, so if blood's not your thing, you might want to stay away. Some scenes in particular are rather graphic, which I of course find to be part of the show's charm. Higurashi loves to lull you into a false sense of security before dropping the hammer, or meat cleaver. Things are never too nice for too long, as it always keeps you on the edge of your seat. It's a frankly magnificent example of storytelling that succeeds where most horror anime fail, making it the crowning example of what this genre is capable of. Horror stories are often plagued with a bevy of downright awful characters, from the head-bashingly stupid to the claw-your-own-throat-out annoying. So imagine my surprise when Higurashi presents me with characters I actually like. Each main character in this group of friends comes across as innocent enough, but in reality, each is hiding their own dark secrets of their past. As these secrets are revealed over the course of the various arcs, we begin to sympathize with each character, truly hoping they don't meet the same awful demise. They're all very mentally and emotionally unstable, always one misstep away from the breaking point. Each character has their own unique perspective and ultimately heartbreaking story to tell. Their overly cute or occasionally annoying outward personalities makes for a striking contrast to their unstable mental state and ultimate breakdown. Higurashi actually develops its characters, that alone making it better than 99% of horror shows out there. Hell, they even made me feel bad for the show's ultimate villain, no matter how hard I tried not to. That is character development at its finest. They may come across as a bunch of annoying moe brats, but each has their own infectious personality and level of extreme emotional depth, Even the seemingly generic/annoying twat Keiichi has his own level of depth, as his backstory is way more twisted than he gives off. The show doesn't waste its characters either. Everyone, including all the supporting cast, serves some purpose in the overall mystery and plot, even the ones who may not seem like it at first. After all, the show doesn't really present its true main character until the second season. Considering the world resets at each climax, it'd be very easy for Higurashi to hit the reset button on its characters as well. However, much like it added a new layer of depth to the world and mystery with each arc, the characters receive the same treatment. All in all, it makes for a sympathetic, mostly likable cast whose grisly deaths actually leave an impact beyond the standard, "gee, that sucks." And hey, even if you don't like them, you'll get to watch the ones you hate brutally murdered at some point. It's a win-win. Ah, Studio Dean. You never fail to disappoint. Without a doubt, Higurashi's biggest fault is the animation. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's pretty bad. This shouldn't come as a surprise to anybody who knows anything about Studio Dean, but it doesn't make it any better. There's nothing particularly striking about the art style, it's just bland. Well, except for the Higurashi faces. This series is known for some of the characters' more outlandish facial expressions when they go off the deep end. Sometimes the absurdity worked and added to the craziness of the scene. Other times, however, yeah, let's just say no. Then, of course, there's the moe character designs. Honestly, if you're gonna not watch a story as fantastic as this because of some fucking character designs, I really don't know what to tell you. Maybe you should just consider another hobby if it bothers you that much. As for the sound, Higurashi's OST has several memorable atmospheric tracks that did an excellent job giving it that unsettling vibe. The main theme in particular is incredibly haunting, with soft chilling vocals over a repeating piano beat easily making it the best of the soundtrack. At some points though, it was the absence of any sound that left the biggest impact. The melancholic sound of the Higurashi, or evening cicadas, in the background was all it needed to send chills down my spine. Higurashi demonstrates that it isn't just important to have great sound, but to know how to use it. Finally, there's the show's set of openings and endings. The first seasons were both better than the seconds, though Kai's set did grow on me. Of note, though, is the first opening. If you've seen my top 50 openings list, you'd know how much I love this sequence, as it ranks in my top 5 of all time. Seriously, this is how it's done. Even though it does add to the unsettling nature of the show at times, Higurashi's animation still leaves a lot to be desired. It is Studio Dean after all. But not enough that the story, characters, and sound can't make up for. Higurashi is not a perfect show. Not at all. Some of the characters can be a bit annoying at times, the animation's poor, and the resolution to the mystery may be the tiniest bit underwhelming, at least at first. That being said, I'm firmly of the belief that just because a show has flaws doesn't mean it can't be great. All shows have flaws. The question is, did Higurashi overcome them and tell the meaningful story it wanted to tell? Of course it did. It's a superb piece of storytelling complete with constant tension, perfect pacing, and textbook character development. The show actually has a message about the meaning of friendship and its powerful bond that's way less cheesy than I just made it sound. All in all, it makes for one hell of a series and a demonstration of what great horror truly is. So with that, I award Higurashi no Naku Koro ni, or When They Cry, an approval rating of best of the best, a distinction reserved only for shows I find to be an absolute masterpiece and a definite must-watch, as well as an overall score of 4.55 Higurashi faces out of 5. It was when Keiichi saw this, he knew. He was fucked. To anyone who thinks anime is only for kids, Higurashi is a clear example of how laughable that statement is. Beyond just the blood and shocking levels of violence, it's also got some extremely mature themes ranging anywhere from child abuse and domestic violence to research ethics. As such, I wouldn't recommend it to anyone who can't handle those things, but for the rest of you, I don't know what you're still waiting for. Higurashi is the best horror anime of all time in my book, and a shining example of the evocative, powerful storytelling this medium is capable of. At this point, some of you may be wondering about the third season, Rei. I didn't include it in the review for 2 reasons. 1, it's more of an extra OVA type deal as Kai concludes the main story, and 2, there's a major dip in quality, so I'd recommend you stay away from it. If you're looking for something else similar to Higurashi, I point you towards Yami Shibai. an episodic horror series with a creepy animation style based off Japanese paper theater. Each episode tells a different horror story, usually with some sort of message at the end. It's the only anime I've ever seen that legitimately terrified me, and I highly recommend it if you're into that sort of thing. Also take a look at Ghost Hound for another more psychological mystery, only without all the moe and slapstick humor. And that's all for me. Be sure to tune in next week as I conclude Horror Month with the surprise choice for the final review as voted on by you. If you're feeling particularly generous and want to help me make better content, please consider checking out my Patreon page. Any help goes a long way. Please subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and feel free to follow me on Twitter at UTS Reviews. As always, thanks for watching. See you next time.